Hello and welcome to the Simply Greg Show. As you already know, like I like to say, the Simply Greg Show is all about elevating the mind and inspiring the community by spotlighting the hidden gems in the community. And that's ordinary people doing extraordinary things. So what that basically means is that every week we have an amazing guest who's basically been through a challenging situation and had to overcome that to be where they are currently at the present moment. And what they're able to do is now share with us some of the things that they were able to kind of put in place in order to achieve the success they currently have at the present moment. Today, it's a pleasure for me to actually introduce my guest, the hidden gem, my sis. And obviously she's an amazing woman who's been doing amazing work. And, she's been in my radar for the last few years, but we'll tell you more about that. Amazing author as well, Yvette Taylor.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Yes.
So good to be here.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's obviously, like I was telling her the other day on the phone, like I've connected with her like almost 6 years ago, I think it was actually. And I don't think she remembers all of that, but I had to remind her. She's like, what?
It's like we did this.
Yeah, like literally. We connected and that was like Twitter. That's like, no one's really on Twitter nowadays. Obviously she was doing her business and at that time it was like a marketing business you had, right? Yeah, it was what was it called again?
Which one was that? The social
Which
source?
One is it? Yeah.
I've been through many different iterations. So
yeah.
The social source, that one was.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, great. And she was doing her stuff. And I remember at that time I was in my coaching business and then I saw her marketing stuff going. I was like, very impressive. The way it was well put and everything. I was like, amazing. But there was also a connection at that time that I felt like, because in the world of social media where so many people are not authentic and you can feel the authenticity in the different individuals that you just connect with. Yeah. And I just felt like I connected with her at that time as well. And we've just been back and forth. And then for a few years down the line, I didn't hear from her. And I was like, hey, how you doing? Like, because sometimes like people got their businesses and then they crush down or things don't work out or something. Yeah. So it's just about also just checking up on them and so forth. And she's like, oh no, I've just realigned things and I had a child and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, great to see. At least you're still keeping towards purpose. But at the same time as well, they don't obviously know that background. So I'm bringing it to you, Yvette. Let them know who you are and your journey that led you to being here.
Where do we begin?
Yeah.
Where do we begin? So I've created something called EAM, the Energy Alignment Method now.
Yeah.
But as you know, my journey to here, to being at this point, just was not straightforward. It hasn't been simple. It hasn't been straightforward. I don't know. Where do you want me to go back to?
Yeah. First and foremost, obviously, you've got this amazing book that you wrote, which is the Alignment Method. What is in that book and what was the journey that brought you to writing that particular book, the Alignment Method? It seems like algebra to me. I don't know. What is it? What are you having to align? You're like,
you never know.
Exactly.
So EAM, the Energy Alignment Method is now an internationally recognised self-help healing modality. And we have been on such an amazing mission over the last 6 years.
Yeah.
We've shared it with over 50,000 people around the world, got 100 people trained in using the modality. It's been an epic adventure.
Amazing.
But I never sat down and thought, I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to create a self-help tool. It didn't begin like that. So the beginning of this journey for me was my own journey. For so many people, I know we start on the path of personal development because we want to let go of pain. We've been through something, whatever that is. Everybody has a story. Everybody has a journey. And, I can only speak for myself, but I started that journey because I wanted to let go of the things that I'd been through and the impact of what I'd been through because I was miserable for years. And I knew there just had to be something more to life than how I was feeling, but I didn't know what. And that was 20 years ago.
Wow. 20 years. She's exaggerating, guys. That was when she was 5. Right? No, guys. She's not saying that. Look, right, guys, I need to talk to her. You was 5 at that time, right?
I wasn't.
All right, now you're 20. She's 25 now, guys. Look, she's not even up. She's like, no, guys, no. Oh, bless. Yeah.
Old lady. Grey hairs and
This is backwards. I'm here like supporting her. But yeah, in terms of, so you went on that journey. like you said, what, in your teens? So when you were 17 or so?
That's when I began, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Officially began my spiritual journey. Yeah,
Wow.
17.
So at that time, did you notice that there was something how did you come to that recognition that there was something within you that you wanted to shift? Because not everyone has that consciousness to be aware that there's something that needs to move. Or what was it for you? Or did you notice it by the way you was behaving and how you was going on through life?
Yeah, it might help if I share a bit of context to my journey. So I grew up with, as we do, in a family. My dad was an interesting character throughout a lot of our childhood, but you don't know what you don't know. You only know the life that you have. Yeah. And it isn't until you start getting a little bit older, you start thinking, well, actually, my life looks a little bit different to my friends. And, my family looks a little bit different. So my dad liked to drink. Yeah. He was a bit handy with his fists. Yeah. We grew up in a very fear-based household. Yeah. And I actually ended up very sick between the age of 8 and 12, was really ill, in and out of hospital for 4 years with a very serious health condition. And at the age of 11, I ended up in a very traumatic experience, held at knife point. Wow. Against my will. And I dare not breathe a word. I didn't want to tell anyone. I didn't want to say anything because I was just so petrified that I'd get in trouble, that I'd bring shame on the family. It happened when I was in Jamaica. And I didn't want to say anything to anyone. So I ended up spending 4, 5, most of my teenage years, I just internalized it all. I internalized the anger, I internalized the pain. I did try and go and speak to a counsellor, but after about 2 years, and that was the first time I'd really shared it properly with an adult. Yeah. And I was 14 at the time. And her response was, well, did that really happen to you? Or are you just doing it? Are you just saying that to get some attention? I was like, okay. Wow. It's taken me 2 years to get to this point.
To really muster up the courage to even share that. Wow.
So, that just sent me on did I make it all up? There isn't really any point in sharing this. No one's going to believe me. Yeah. And so I just ended up keeping the rest of it inside. But that just ended up with me being, my mum deserves a medal. She really deserves a medal. I really struggled throughout my teenage years. I was into drink and drugs and drum and bass and everything. I was completely off. I was off the wall. Yeah. But all of it was just my way of trying to deal with the pain because I didn't know. And it wasn't just what had happened then. There were lots of other things that had happened in my life too. But nobody teaches you. No one teaches you how to deal with emotions. No one teaches you how to be happy. No one teaches you mindset. No one teaches you the power of positivity. No one teaches you that. We go to school and we're taught to learn a whole bunch of stuff that you're never going to use. You're not taught how to be a good person. You're not taught how to live a happy life. Yeah. And actually it was my mum who bought me a book on, I think it was massage and aromatherapy, that just really piqued my interest. Yeah. So I ended up going and doing a aromatherapy course, and then just the whole world of energy opened up to me. I just became a course junkie. So instead of drinking drugs, although it took me a little bit longer to get past that phase, I then became addicted to the world of energy healing and just learn everything. And I trained in literally every single course you could possibly think of, ended up teaching a lot of it, ended up running my own wellbeing centre at the age of 22, which I loved. But I was so limited in terms of what I could do because there's only one person in front of you. You can only work with one person at a time. And I was like, the whole world needs to know about this stuff. Yeah. So I think the calling was in me even way, way, way back then. I was like, then this needs to be out there. Why is this not common knowledge? But it took me a long time. What was it that you're talking about? Is it the methodology that you was able to bring together that you feel is okay? So this was just the world of chi and flow and personal development. So I originally trained in something called EFT, tapping, emotional freedom techniques. which is an energy psychology, and it just makes so much sense. Like when you really understand the world through the eyes of energy, everything becomes really very simple.
Wow.
So EAM itself was born end of 2014. So it was, a good 14 years later after I began my journey that what is now this modality.
So you obviously noticed for yourself that you was going off the rails because you was trying to find that peace, or you was trying to run away from something, or just everything, because of obviously the event that occurred, which then built up everything else from there, and it spiraled out. And there you were trying to find that wholeness, that peace, and just that positivity within you, but yet
I couldn't
finding it in the wrong places as well.
I couldn't find it, and that was it. And I hindsight is an amazing thing. What I think I loved about my time raving was actually it allowed me to let go of what I was feeling day to day. And I think that's something that most people resonate with, whether your drug is alcohol or TV or shopping or social media, it's relief. Yeah. It's relief from our current experience. Yeah. And I have such a deep understanding of that now. And from that, like, even to the point I would end up self-harming just to let go of the pain because that was better for me than what I was feeling. And obviously that's not a solution. It's not a solution for anyone, but nobody teaches you. Yeah. Nobody teaches you anything otherwise unless you go on that journey for yourself.
And that's the thing. And you can't, and this is where you can't judge someone else because you don't understand the challenge that they're going through, that they just need a sense of relief from. Like in that moment, whatever it is, and you're very right, because whatever it is that people might find themselves addicted to in that moment, it's just they're just looking for that relief, and whatever is giving them that relief for that short moment, is something of which now, and this is something that someone also mentioned to me as well, is that whatever you give weight to in the moment that you need that relief becomes the king or that crown to you. Because it now empowers itself in your life, because every time you go through that low moment now, whether it's drugs, whether it's whatever it is,
bad relationships,
exactly. And it's a cycle that continues, whether it's even just giving of yourself, prostituting yourself, or whatever it is, it's like, because you just want to get rid of whatever it is that you're going through. And I'm aware of that, and it manifests itself in various different ways, because obviously, people who might be watching or listening to this as well might be going through what they're going through in their own personal situation. And like you said, also relationships where people don't actually know how to be able to embrace themselves. They're always in a relationship because at the same time, they're trying to run away from themselves or just being at ease with themselves, so it manifests itself in various different ways.
Everything. It's everything. It manifests in everything. I truly believe every single one of us there's a part of us, not necessarily that we're running away from, but there is always another level of us to find, to discover, to uncover, to explore. And it's like, and that is the premise of EAM, is that, like, letting go of the stuff that we use as our excuse, or that we're using to cloud us or to bring us unhappiness, to let go of that stuff that creates the chaos in your life. Because once it's gone, then clarity comes, and then with clarity you can make those decisions, and you can start making those right next steps. But so many of us are just tied up in whatever it is, trying to run away from dealing with the things that are going on.
And what are some of the perils of holding on to it? Because in that moment as well, if we're going to, this is like a personal development side of things, because I'm a coach myself. Now we can go deeper. Some of the perils towards it, because you can imagine in that moment when someone is holding on to that, sometimes it is difficult for them to let go of the thing that they're addicted to, because that thing also gives them comfort. Because there's not just a side of them that is trying to run away from the particular issue they're going through, but it's also, it gives them comfort in that particular moment. They're comfortable with that. They're used to that. How, like, what are some of the perils of allowing yourself to remain in that cycle that you're used to?
Let me one little concept just to put under the grounding of this. Our brain is literally wired to keep us safe. And the way that your brain creates safety is it will go towards what it knows. And anything beyond what it knows is considered scary. It doesn't want you to go there because it knows how to deal with your current experience. So we are wired for that. And that's part of the problem, is most people don't even know how they work and how they operate and how they function. And so with that understanding, and it's like, then you know, okay, my brain is literally wired to keep me safe.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily doing the best thing for me.
Yeah.
Because what's keeping me safe is hurting me in other ways. And so that harm can show up in so many different ways. In EAM, we talk about 3 flows of energy. Everything in your life is in reversal, which are those experiences where, you know, the more energy you put into it, the worse that it seems to get, the bigger it seems to get, the more focus you give to it, it seems to run in the opposite direction to the way you want it to be.
Yeah.
Every single one of us has got something like that going on in our lives, and probably multiple things. Then there's resistance, which is where you're in this push-pull energy, where the more it's like you want to take a step forward, and every time you take a step forward, it's like something always holds you back. And that thing that holds us back is usually our limiting thoughts, beliefs, mindset, emotions, whatever. And then there's the receptive state, which is the one that everybody wants. Everybody wants to be in that happy, high vibe, loving, opportunities falling, at your feet place. Yeah. So when you take it into the world of energy, everything in your life is in one of those 3 states. Okay. And that actually makes it really simple, because then you're like, okay, this doesn't look good. This is how it's showing up in my life. Those addictions, the pain, the relationships, whatever. And all it is energy stuck in that space. Because
that's the thing, and I'm glad that you was able to kind of explain those 3 different categories of obviously energy and how it flows and so forth, because it's like I would often also speak to people who want something but are going against what they want. It's like, how does that make sense, you know?
It's our programming, and it's in our energy system. So it's like you consciously decide you want to do something, but everything in your energy is completely contradicting what it is that you say that you want. Yeah. And it's those things that you have to shift. It's those things you have to identify, let go of, and change so that they're no longer in the way and holding you back. Yeah. And the problem is, most of the time, we're taught to just, feel the fear and do it anyway, or just push on through. But whilst you're still holding on to that stuff from your past, whilst it's still there, everything that's ever happened to you is held in your energy field.
So you're basically carrying that with you. You're like, you're feeling the fear and jumping, but you're jumping with your baggage.
Everything. You've got 10 suitcases full of stuff with you wherever you go, and you think that you're showing up in the best possible way. Yeah. And we don't know it, but we all read energy. Yeah. Like when we met, like you just know when you meet someone. Yeah. And everybody's got it. We all have this ability to read what's going on. And even if you think you're showing up in your best light, you might be, but it's a facade whilst you still hold this stuff.
It's true.
And so the work to do is to shift the stuff.
Wow. That is a lot. And I'm glad that you've given some clarity, because like you said, it's necessary to have clarity. Otherwise, you'd find yourself behaving in ways without knowing why you're behaving in certain ways. And I see that too often, even with the people I speak to, behaving in certain ways, and they don't even know why. They just don't know.
But we all have it. That's the thing. We all have it. Like I'm not sitting here like as an angel saying, I've got everything in my life sorted. I never do anything. No, I don't. But we teach what we need to learn. We do. I am now, with hindsight, so grateful for my journey. Because it's allowed me to really experience it, to live it and experience it. Had all of those things not happened to me in my childhood, I wouldn't be on this path. I wouldn't have been doing this. I wouldn't have spent the last 20 years, figuring it all out. And teaching it. So all of us have our mission. All of us have our whatever that is, that story is to learn. But
that's amazing.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, because even when you shared all of that with me as well, I was like, wow, there's like all of this going on behind the scenes that, obviously I wouldn't have thought, or to kind of, and it just goes to show that we're all going through our own life. And, like you mentioned earlier on, is the teachings that you learn from your own life that helps to make an impact. And, sort of like on the other side of things, even though I'm not glad, but I'm glad that someone like you is able to take the teachings from that, because you know very well how to articulate that across to someone else who's in a challenging situation, you know, someone else who's might be listening to at the present moment, yet doesn't even know why they're going through what they're going through and didn't even realize that that's what they was trying to shift or run away from, you know, because sometimes all of these things that happen to us, you know, when we're young, like yourself, it, as you mentioned earlier on, it happens without your permission. It happens without your acknowledgement. It happens without anything, you know, or whether it be you're a child and 5 years old and, you know, something happened to you, those kind of things, you was abused and molested, whatever it is, it's beyond your personal control.
Yeah.
Like, life is not fair in itself. You know, you were just born, you go through that. Now the onus is on you to deal with that.
To deal with
it's
it.
like, what?
Yeah. And we're not going to teach you how. There are no tools. There's no manual. There's no book. Well, there is a book. There is a book.
Now there is a book. There's a book.
But that's the bit that breaks my heart.
Yeah.
Is because the world will be such a different place when that's what we teach in school. When we empower our children from a young age to understand emotional intelligence, to recognize that it's okay to feel sad, and here's how to let it go, how to talk about what you're feeling, how to have a safe space to be able to go and share and be heard and be felt and be understood, and have a pathway to be able to move forward on it, not just carry it. So many people say, like, oh, you know, that happened in the past and I've dealt with it.
I'm over it.
You may have boxed it off. You may have dealt with it, and yes, it doesn't bother you day to day, but there will be an impact. There will be an impact in your energy field. You know, there will be something that's affected you. It does. It does to everybody, and that's what excites me about energy. When you understand the world from that perspective, you can see how it all fits together.
Wow! And what are some of the kind of like interesting kind of events that you kind of like experience along that journey to finding that peace and that wholeness where you're at, in order to kind of break that cycle, because you had to discover so much along that journey? What are some of the things that you was discovering as you was going on, and where are some of the pitfalls that you can kind of show people ahead of time that they might also experience or find themselves, you know, going into?
We've only got an hour, haven't we?
It's like, Greg, that's another show and another book.
And another one. Like, where shall I begin?
Yeah.
God, there were
just to give them an insight.
So many. I think number one is recognizing when you're pushing, like, and I can apply that to so many different specific stories. But if there's anything going on in your life that feels like really hard work to change, if there's that nagging feeling inside of you that it's not right, it's not the right path, that you shouldn't be doing it, I'm not talking about that inner voice that's a critic that's telling you not to do it. I'm talking about listening to your heart. You know, when it's like, how many times in your life do you have, and everybody's got this, how many times in your life can you look back and go, do you know what, if I'd listened to my heart, I knew it wasn't the right thing, but I pushed through it and I did it anyway, and then it doesn't end up with what you want. It doesn't end up where you want to be. Your heart will always guide you to the right place every single time. And like, to the point I've actually got this tattooed on my body. It's like, if I follow my heart, it will be a success. And I think that lesson for me has been one of the biggest, one of the most important, is one that I'm still learning. But I'd say that to everybody: listen to your heart. I know that you could look back at your life and think of 2 or 3 things or 5 or 10 things when you knew in your heart that you shouldn't be doing it, you didn't pay attention, and it didn't end up where you wanted to be. So trust that, like, learn to listen to your heart. And yes, it might be hard, yes, it might be difficult, but if you make the change now towards whatever it is you really want, and listen to what your heart's saying, you'll get to where you want to be so much sooner. So much sooner. We waste days and months and weeks and years of our life holding on to situations that we don't want to be in, or we don't want, or aren't serving us, and we don't listen to the heart, which is trying to guide us on the way. I know that sounds really like we're out there, but that's probably one of my biggest lessons.
And what would you say, what would you say in terms of, was the moment for you that it all turned around? I know it's obviously when you went into, you know, obviously going into self-development and but what happened in your life in order to kind of bring that switch around for you to kind of, you know, what happened? What was the moment that all changed for you?
I don't think it's been one.
Yeah.
I think we all have so many little pivot.
Series,
have so many little pivot points, and it's like it is a constant unfolding. I think for me was one of the first ones is really understanding the world of energy was actually when I was learning EFT, the tapping technique, like 20 years ago. Oh my God, that makes me feel really old even saying that. But finally finding a way of letting go of the pain that I'd been carrying for the last 10 years at that point. And all I'd had to do was say a few words, and that pain, that anger, that darkness that I'd been carrying for 10 years before had just gone. Yeah.
I think what I was trying to find is that when was enough? Because some people are still stuck in because a cycle is difficult to break.
It's really hard.
You know, it's like, you have to come to the point where enough is enough for you. And for you, you went out on a mission seeking for something, but for some people they're still in that cycle. And when was enough that you just had to like, I need to change this, I need to shift this, I can't carry this with me?
That was at the age of 17.
Yeah.
That was I've had enough of this. But it wasn't like an overnight. And the next day I woke up and I was doing yoga and doing my stretches and everything was amazing.
Meditated and
like everything. It was a journey. Even from that point of making the decision, I'd say probably took me until I was 23, 24. Because I was still leading this very double life. So I was learning about all the spirituality. I was going through, I was doing it. This is a proper confession now. I was running my wellbeing centre all week, doing the spiritual work, doing the energy healing, doing the massage. And then on a Saturday night, I'd still be out, drink, drugs, drum and bass.
Yvette,
I know.
That's not good, is it?
But it was the hypocrisy of what I was doing.
I love it.
And it was when I was like, I can't be doing this. I can't be so incongruent. I have to be true to what I know. There's a difference between knowing it and there's a difference between actually living it and doing it. And that took me another 4 or 5 years after I knew it. And I think that's the thing. We know for such a long time. And it's not until we actually take the action that your life will change. You have to take the action. You can't just sit and dream. As much as that's important, you actually have to take the action.
Yeah, that annoys me when people have just got that in their head and they're just hoping for something. And like, oh, but I want this. But what are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing? Yeah. What are you doing? And I talk about this a lot with EAM. There are 5 things that you have to do to change anything. First, get your energy in alignment. Shift your thoughts and beliefs. Work on your emotions. Take action and vision. You have to have a vision. What is it that you want to do? Where do you want to go? Like, you need to have all of those things in alignment and congruent for that situation to change. Because if you just do any one of those things, you're missing out and you won't get the full experience of what it is that you want to create. The action piece is so important. So important.
I love that. Thank you so much, Yvette, for sharing that. Quite a lot there that you actually gave. I'm also going to listen to it back and like write some notes and like shift this, shift that. A few people are going to get deleted. Oops, sorry, guys. You're my baggage. Sorry, guys. Yvette told me. Exactly. You're my push and pull. Sorry. So yeah, but thank you so much, Yvette, so far, and thank you for everyone who's obviously listening at the present moment. So Yvette Taylor, obviously the author of the Energy Alignment Method, is talking to us about how to kind of break the cycles of life in order to kind of find that peace and that spiritual alignment and healing that you're also looking for, so that you're not running away from circumstances that you've been through, but you're able to address it, feel it, and then align yourself and deal with it properly with obviously the tools that she's going to share with us after the next side of the break, actually. So Yvette, it's been a pleasure so far. First and foremost, obviously you're not leaving, you're not going anywhere, but after the break, Yvette's going to talk to us more about now these 5 particular actions that we need to take on board. So make sure obviously you bring out your pen, you bring out your pad, take down some notes, and definitely you'll see a transformation in your own life. So simply Greg, don't touch that dial. See you on the other side.